nobody has ever in the history of time bullied a kid because their parent died. Like the day after their parent died. Nobody's done that.
And like the day after the parent died, and also he's getting bullied because his dad was Batman.
Sweet Christmas.
Shout out to my birds.
Hello. This is Che.
This is Cory.
And this is the Next Time On podcast, a podcast where two lifelong friends discuss all things amazing and all things fetid in popular culture. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, imagine if instead of joining forces to cap off the greatest comeback story of 2023, Brendan Fraser and Ke Kwan teamed up to bring you an all-time great podcast of 2023. I fucking stumbled at the end, but
It's generally fine that you'll have to, like, it's fine that you stumble, but at the same time, I think you just unfortunately promised the universe a podcast that I would love for that to happen. But it won't exist.
They'll be too busy making movies for the next, 50 years.
And honestly, really happy for them in that capacity. I'm happy, very happy. I was a very happy camper sitting over Oscar award winning night. It was a nice night for me. Yeah, at least we all won.
That's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We're also going to be talking about the new CW show, for lack of a better word, Gotham Knights, also covering new comics from Marvel, Image, and Boom Studios. One thing we will not be discussing is Shazam! Fury of the Gods, because much like the rest of the world, I didn't actually go and see it. Cory did, but I didn't get a chance to see it, so
and I
we'll
thought
have to save that one for later.
Yeah, we'll save it for later, but if you guys are on the fence about seeing it, if you're looking for a superhero movie, you're not going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
It's a fine movie.
A ringing endorsement, ladies and gentlemen, as always.
If you like the first one, you'll like this one. I mean, that's kind of like, and I think even when I saw the first one, I think it was the same way, where it was like, this isn't the best movie in the world, but I had a lot of fucking fun watching it. And I think that's how I felt with the second one.
I did see a lot of headlines in response to its box office performance being like, is this finally the end of superheroes? And to those people, unfortunately for you guys, the answer is no.
I think this is even more of a point, is that commercials and marketing unfortunately matters, because I've seen more advertisements for the Mario movie in the last 3 weeks than I've seen for this.
Listen, I'm normally like, I don't like something, but I don't care if it does well, so be it. Live and let live. I want the Mario movie to be horrible. I want it to be one of the worst movies ever released, because the movie hasn't even fucking come out yet, and somehow the Mario movie fans are unbearable. It's like, I'm just rooting for their downfall. I have to admit.
I hate to say this, Che, as well. After seeing the trailer, looks like a lot of fun.
No, I think that's the thing, is it does look like probably
it
the best
unfortunately
version of
looks
Mario
like
movie. Yeah.
It looks like fun. It's just at the same time, it's like
I'm just hoping it's like the Transformers movie equivalent of an animated movie, where it cuts together in a trailer really well, but ultimately is a terrible film. That's what I'm rooting for.
Oh man, I forgot that they're making another Transformers movie this year.
And have you watched the trailer? Because the trailer looks sick.
Yeah, it does. I mean, Che, we're gonna be talking about that movie later on in the year as well.
Are we? Oh
yes.
My God.
We're probably not. We're gonna probably do what we did with Zack Snyder's Justice League and Gotham Knights, and just do a watch along.
I'd have to do so much catching up. I don't think I've seen the last two Transformers movies.
Dude, I don't think that fucking matters whatsoever.
Merlin was in one of them, right?
Merlin was in it, played by Stanley Tucci. And Stanley Tucci was also in the other one.
He was in another one as a different character, right?
Yes, 100%. For some reason, he's just Merlin, though. I think Anthony Hopkins was there at some point.
Oscar winner Anthony Hopkins. But we got a little sidetracked, as we always do. Don't forget,
yes, we do.
Follow us at Next Time On Pod on our social media platforms. We're all over the place, including at youtube.com/at Next Time On Pod. If you're on the YouTube channel, don't forget to do that as well, so that really helps us out. And we save you from having to watch Gotham Knights, which is the best part of it. It's a public service is what it is.
Because guys, that was not good. That was not a
Remember when the
show.
Reveal was that she was the Joker's daughter,
and no one gave a shit.
I think
that's my favorite part about it. It's just like I'm Joker's daughter. And I was like, okay, like. Also, I just love. I don't remember the fucking guy's name. I don't remember the main character's fucking name.
It was like Turner
Turner Hayes.
Yeah.
Yes, Batman's
Crazy white boy name.
everybody's favorite of the Batman sons.
Which is worse?
Turner Hayes.
Which is worse? Turner Hayes or you should go by your middle name, Robin?
Turner Hayes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Turner Hayes, absolutely.
It will never gain the notoriety.
The Robin thing,
because not enough people will see the show, thankfully. But it's certainly worse.
That Robin scene. I think that Robin scene is not as bad as the Star Trek Into Darkness. Benedict Cumberbatch is not Khan like capacity, but it's still
that I cared about less because I don't really. To be honest,
I just don't like being lied. I just don't like being lied to. Honestly.
Yeah,
I think that's my biggest thing. Like it's like that
was
one
really dumb reveal.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I'm Khan. Like you literally told me in the press junket that he's not Khan.
Yeah.
Why would you lie to me about that?
I think we've gotten better at that. Not we. I think studios have gotten better at that, where they just will tell actors just to say that you can't say, and then that's fine with fans.
That's fine. I'm fine with just can't say. Just don't be like. Don't lie to me. Because also the same thing happened with, like, I played Batman Arkham Knight. Remember, in the trailer, in the commercials, like, don't worry. This guy who hates Batman is wearing a mask. He's not Jason Todd.
Yeah, but also, it's like 13 seconds into the game, you realize it's definitely Jason Todd.
Yes, but it's still fucking annoying as shit, though. I was just like, it's not Jason Todd. And I'm playing the game, I'm like,
well, that's why it was so weird they even bothered with the whole, like, this isn't Jason Todd, because it's evident the second you load into the game who it is.
And I mean,
honestly,
still a good game, though. Why didn't they just make him Red Hood? It could have made him Red Hood and it would have been fine. It's stupid. Sorry. Whatever.
Still not quite through our points of business. Don't forget, next time on .net, you can find all of our archives podcasts, all of our writing there. I just put up last week a prediction for the Oscars, which have passed, but in there I talked about what I think should have won, what obviously I predicted would win, and you can see if I was right or not. So that'll be at next time on .net for those of you interested in that. And last but not least, before we jump into the meat of the episode, is don't forget our book club coming up next episode, Corey?
Sure.
Next episode, Nice House on the Lake by James Tynion IV, and shortly thereafter we'll be doing Domino by Tony Scott for our Curse the Rewatch. So we got a lot of good shit for you. If you haven't already subscribed, whether it be on YouTube or on your podcast feed or following us on any social media platforms, you can see what's up. Do that because we got a lot of great shit for you coming soon. But like I said, let's just jump into this fucking episode.
Yeah, I think after that Domino episode, we got a lot of movies to catch up on too, Chance. So I'm really excited. We got John Wick coming up. We got kind of want to see that Tetris movie. I'm gonna suffer.
I didn't want to see the Tetris movie, and then I got 4 million advertisements for it, making me think that Apple thinks they've got a winner on their hands. And I do love Taron Egerton, so
yeah. In the trailer, I don't like. Listen, I try to avoid trailers, but that's a fucking bomb trailer.
I haven't seen that. I did watch the BlackBerry trailer, which looked like a good movie, but also why are they making it?
A BlackBerry? I mean, honestly, that's also like why are we making a Tetris movie? But honestly, man, after watching the trailer, I'm like, fucking bring it on.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Renfield either, but that's besides the point. Let's get into this.
All right, elevator pitch. I'm gonna go first this time, mostly because I just have my scene open already. I'm gonna put a minute on the clock and go. All right, so the thing I'm pitching is a TV show that if you are in, I think the rest of the world, you will have seen sometime in January. It's an Australian television show called Black Snow. If you're in America, it's airing currently episodic on AMC Plus, or you can find it wherever you find TV shows. But it is a Travis Fimmel starring, who many people recognize from Raised by Wolves, and it is a cold case murder mystery show set in the southeast islands of Australia about the disappearance of a Aboriginal girl and the insidious world that surrounds it, and this guy returning to the scene of the crime, who clearly himself has a lot of scars of the past. And it's just like really well made mystery. It's a well executed police drama, and Travis Fimmel is like really great in it, and I didn't love him in Raised by Wolves, so I was surprised at how good he is in this. So if that's your sort of thing, you love a good cop drama, go check that one out on AMC Plus.
I'll definitely check it out. I mean, I've been looking. I mean, it's know me, I'm always looking for a good mystery. But yeah, no, I'm definitely done. Check it out.
All right, minute on the clock for Corey. And go.
Okay, so this is kind of one of my elevator pitches for something that's very over by now, but I saw that the second arc of the story is coming out, so I finally decided to talk about it. It is the Vita Ayala with art by Chris Cross and Nicholas Draper IV Static Shock Season 1. It's just known as Static Season 1. I believe it's 5 to 6 issues of a one arc story following, Static Shock. If you guys aren't familiar with the amazing cartoon show for some of our childhood, it's a lot of carrying over that spirit into a very modern era, but it doesn't cross over that line of hey fellow kids territory. I think it's a really smart and well done comic with amazing art. And as someone who's really hasn't gotten a chance to see that comic book character, that character in an actual good comic, I think this comic does a really good job of coming across with that. If you love the TV show or have been curious about a good story with the whole Spider-Man mentality to it, I really recommend it.
Yeah, I think we talked about the first issue, right?
We did a long time ago, but it's like it took like a long break for it to come between seasons. I think this book wrapped in 2021, and I think the second part of this book didn't start coming out until recently. I think we're only on issue 3 or 4 maybe of this second arc, but
to be honest, I'm pretty far behind. I didn't even finish the first season, but I did like it. I just have to.
Yeah, that's what I did the same thing too. I was like giving it a break until it finished, then I went through it the entire way through, and I'm like, oh wait, this is really fucking good. And I think whenever you capture that whole feeling, and we talked about it a bit with Miss Marvel, of kind of feeling like a Spider-Man story or that whole like coming of age story told from a different perspective, especially in a superhero comic, which makes it feel so good and well done. I think it really works, and not to the detriment of Miles Morales as a character. I think what Static kind of has to his benefit is his own kind of universe that he can like kind of exist in.
Yeah.
And especially one that you can kind of just dive into the nostalgia factor that was the original Saturday morning cartoon cartoon of it. It's only beneficial. It's a really good comic. And I've always been a fan of Static Shock, especially growing up. Was one of my consistent go-to cartoons growing up. But he's DC Spider-Man. I'm surprised they don't ever use him more though. But
yeah, we were talking about that for a while. But there had to be some sort of weird rights thing.
I think there was with the Milestone comic. If you guys aren't familiar, Milestone
because we still haven't gotten a Static any like TV show, anything really.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm surprised by that too, because also I'm surprised like that we haven't seen anything like Icon related either, which also another very big Milestone comic. I'm assuming at some point those have to be in the works because like I think those are just two really good characters, and I think Static definitely is ripe for a live action or just like maybe a cartoon revival of some kind. Honestly, I think like the fact that they haven't cashed in on the fact like on like young black cool superhero who's modeled after Spider-Man, DC hasn't done it. It's just another fumble of the bag that they continue to do. But maybe James Gunn will look at this and maybe think about it. Maybe that might be on his agenda one day. I can't imagine. I think leaving Static out for this is leaving money on the table kind of vibe, especially for people like in our generation who are.
Well, it's just like it's sort of like you were saying, kind of the best of both worlds, where it is both nostalgic IP nostalgia bait and also gets to exist in its own. Like it could be its own thing. It's so fresh, like so unexplored for so long that it could just be its own thing. Like I would hope that if it does come back, which I'm hoping it doesn't come back as just like the same thing it used to be. I don't think I just want a rehash of the original Static Shock stuff.
And I think what such a smart thing it did, where like I think in the original cartoon there was like kind of like he was like pressuring to going this kind of like gang thing, and that's how he gets his powers like by like some explosion. But like in the comic, like he's at a protest, I think. And that they get like gassed by the police, and that's how they get their powers or something. Like, it was like kind of a combination between that, and I'm like, oh, that's such a smart. Like, you like a lot of things like this is such a smart idea for this kind of character, and bring it into now. Some of it's a bit like, all right, no one's really going to Twitch for their news. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I don't fucking know. Are people doing that? Okay, maybe. Hey, listen,
our boy Hassan is out here cooking. That's like
okay. Fair. It's just kind of like there's one of the characters in it. He's like an investigative journalist who's also a Twitch streamer. I'm like, all right.
I think that and like luckily I don't know any of them, but like people who just go to TikTok for all their news
that's fair. That's like 100%
a massive
fair.
group of people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 100%
I do think when
fair.
you're saying like cool black superhero, I think this is what they thought they had with Black Lightning. And that
What is
show
up with black people with lightning powers?
there was like it was like a video essay or maybe like a regular essay about that at one point.
It's
I
weird.
want to track it down. That it is like a like Storm, obviously.
Black Vulcan from the Super Friends.
Yeah, a lot of your favorite black superheroes throughout time are like lightning or like electricity powers.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder what it is. I don't know. It's a weird thing. All right. Shall we cross over, Che, into talking about
Let's jump into it.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to touch on this briefly because we're a little bit behind on this, obviously, with the news. But the 95th Academy Awards, as you guys have noticed, if you guys have listened to our preview episode, it's a really good one. I mean, it doesn't really obviously hold up as well afterwards, but still a good episode if you want to go back and check it out. But I mean, looking at it this way, though, we kind of we saw what happened. A lot of what Che said was very on the money. Okay, everything. I mean, the headline is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Definitely did the walk away with most of the awards.
That is the headline.
That is the headline.
Can I give you a few sort of stats?
Why not?
In relation to Everything Everywhere All at Once is absolutely dominant performance. So no film has ever won 5 above the line awards, meaning like non-technical awards.
Jeez.
And technically, Everything Everywhere All at Once did not win the quote unquote Big Five, which has only been won by 3 movies in the past. It Happened One Night, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I should have this stored away in my memory somewhere, but I don't. I will briefly look that up while we're talking, but because it was not eligible for lead actor, it wasn't nominated in the category, and it won every single award it was nominated for except for 2. And those 2 were basically laughable. It didn't win score, which at the time we said we didn't understand why it was even in this category. Pretty mediocre score at best.
Yeah.
And then it didn't win original song for, listen, no offense to the musicians who wrote that song, but it is a horrible piece of music.
What's the original song?
I honestly, when I listened to it, didn't even recognize it from in the movie. I don't know when it was in the movie.
Maybe it was in the trailer? That's weird. I don't know.
I think technically it has to be in the film and on the score and obviously an original piece of music to qualify. I'll tell you what the name is. I don't know if this will mean anything to you. It is, hold on, I'm scrolling through the awards. This Is a Life, music by Ryan Lott, David Brin, and Mitski. Nope. Names I recognize as artists, but the song is bad. And if you guys, I'm plugging it again because I do think it's, like I said, I think it's still a good read because I talk about what I think should have won the awards and what, and also like why we got to where we got, why this at the time was probably going to happen and then ended up happening. But it's like 4 identical songs and then the song from RRR, which is like different. So it was definitely going to win.
Yeah.
And
the musical, right?
RRR?
No, wait, never mind.
No, Bollywood. But I mean...
Yeah. No, it's important. Yeah.
Lots of singing. There is like a insane music video for that song. Have you watched it?
No, I have not. Should I?
It's pretty bad shit.
I love a good batch of music video. I mean, Turn Out for What is still, speaking of Everything Everywhere All at Once. But,
Turn Out for What is like a seminal moment in my childhood, basically.
Honestly, I think that was the first thing I watched after Everything Everywhere All at Once was that music video. Because if you guys aren't aware, that the Daniels were directors of that music video. And it is, if you guys have not seen the music for it, please run, do not walk to your nearest console and turn it on because it is fucking insane.
It's nuts. And last piece of statistics before we talk about these awards, more generally, if we are calling the major awards, which I would, the screenplay, the actor, and the directing awards, so that is 6 awards. Now, in large part, that is because of those 6 awards, Everything Everywhere All at Once won. Sorry, not 6 awards, 8 awards. Of those 8 awards, Everything Everywhere All at Once won 6 of the 8. But A24 took 7 of 8 awards. And the only one it didn't take...
I'm happy for them.
My apologies to our listeners. Cory recently applied for a job at A24. They are on our shit list now. But unfortunately, they do still make good movies, so we're going to have to talk about them a little bit. The only of the major awards they didn't capture was Best Adapted Screenplay, which went to Women Talking, of course. And obviously Brendan Fraser in The Whale is the other major award that was not won by Everything Everywhere All at Once. So it was just a very unprecedented night for a lot of things, but weirdly, we all knew it was going to happen by the time Sunday rolled around. This was like almost guaranteed. There's very few surprises in the night. I do have a question for you before we like jump into the more general discussion. So you are an Everything Everywhere fan.
I was from the get-go, yeah.
I think at the time you said it may be your favorite movie of the decade.
I think I did, but I think I messaged you that after I saw it.
So, as an Everything Everyone's fan, you're happy? You're happy with the results?
Yeah, no, I'm happy. Yeah,
okay.
Can't complain. No, I was after seeing the other movies, I'm like I'm still very much in my same camp of feelings towards the movie itself, and I think the awards were well earned.
All of them. All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
Yes. Which one are you going to ask about?
I'm
sorry. Sorry. That's the one I did forget about. That one doesn't make any sense to me. That's a weird one. Doesn't make any sense
at all,
really. That's the weird. Okay, you're right. I honestly, my brain was just like not clocking that one.
Yeah.
I saw that because I was on a plane, guys, when the awards were happening. I didn't have any access to it, so I was just kind of getting the alerts during it. I was confused.
Unfortunately, I was not confused because it did seem like it was. The ones they won, it was the one that was most in contention. But yes, it doesn't make any sense at all.
She doesn't do anything in the movie really, like warrant.
It's barely a role.
It's barely a role. She doesn't really like do much in it. I mean, like even her like serious moments are played for laughs. I think like she has like one solid scene in it, but it's like not even super like a heavy lifting scene. Just like the scene I'm thinking about is like her at the end of the movie out front of the laundromat. But even that scene is a nice scene.
It's like a 90
but it's like not
scene too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. It's like it's not like, and I was kind of I guess like Ki Hun Kwan. I'm like in comparison to him, where I think like his one scene stands out the most to me. I'm like, oh, this is why I think he deserves it. That one scene,
and it is probably the scene in the alley that you're referring to, where Q Kwan and Michelle Yeoh are talking in the timeline where she's like an actress, a famous, successful actress, is the best scene in the movie.
Yes.
Jamie Lee Curtis sitting outside is like a nice capper.
It's a nice scene, but
it cements the whole mother-daughter storyline of the movie, but it is not like a great piece of the film.
No, it's not.
And it's immediately undercut by the fucking raccoon thing, right?
Oh god!
I'm trying to remember the pacing of that, but it's either immediately after that or immediately before that.
I think it's after that. I think like that scene is kind of like the cigarette of the movie, where it's just like, woof, that was a lot, huh? And it was like, and I think it was necessary, but I just don't understand why they like a role. And I'm thinking about just a quick from the top of my head. I mean, like her character / acting in Knives Out is just far better as a character in performance than like the nothing kind of like, not nothing, but it's just like she was good in the movie, but she wasn't like, I was surprised to even see her name on the list of nominations.
I agree. And I mean, at the end of the day, Jamie Lee Curtis won because she's Jamie Lee Curtis.
Absolutely. And she needed, so it's kind of more of like, it's not comparable to The Revenant, but it's kind of in the same way as like, fucking give her one kind of vibe.
Yeah. I think the difference, and like you said, it's not comparable to The Revenant, but I do think the big difference between most makeup Oscars and Oscars in general, I will say, as somebody who is way more obsessed with this than I should be, movies in general, but the Oscars specifically, and who puts probably way too much thought and effort and like a little bit of my heart into this shit than I should. The Oscars are almost never right. I mean, if we're just talking about Best Picture winners, and then we're going back over the recent winners, I did this. I ran it down just for my own sanity. What I thought were the movies that should have won, and then movies that did win. And I would say you have to go back as far as I'm a La La Land fanatic, but I'm fine. Like, I think Moonlight is probably the most recent deserving winner of that award. I think some people would argue Parasite. I love Parasite. I still think I just hardcore fuck with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and like 1917 a little bit more. But in recent years, I don't think Coda and Nomadland were at all the best movies of those 2 years. And I the same, and for again, plug in my article, you can go check out. I did way more in-depth discussion of this, and I'm going to do. I don't think Everything Everywhere All at Once was the best movie of this year. I also
What did you think was?
I had when it came down to it, I had Tar number one. I think
Fair.
in our ranking, I have Tar and Banshees number 1 and 2. And my final ranking of the 10 Oscar nominees. I had Everything Everywhere All at Once 5th. So
Yeah,
I
can't like go against you with the Tar thing. I did think it was better than Banshees though. I'm still very, but I will say on the other hand though, I'm very happy with it. I think this movie definitely deserved almost everything that it received that night.
We live in a better world than if, for example, The Fabelmans, Top Gun Maverick, or Elvis had won, which I think were very slightly on the table.
I was fucking worried about fucking the best actor category. I'm just like, I hope this is like, it doesn't, I know it won't do this, but I'm kind of just hoping that we could one day just discourage the auto noms for people doing famous musicians.
Yeah.
In movies that are fine.
Yeah. Austin Butler should have been nowhere near that award. I think that Elvis movie is really bad.
And Austin Butler also was the worst part of an Arrow season once, and no one ever should fucking forget about that.
The only thing that was standing in between one is like the Brendan Fraser comeback story. If this performance is identical performance performed by almost anybody else, I think probably he doesn't win. But everybody is like loves Brendan Fraser. They've had a real great time with his awards tour, and so have I. But at least like the whole thing is Austin Butler has like his whole career in front of him. Rarely do young actors win this award on their first go. Obviously, the most recent parallel was most concerning because it is the closest, and that is when Rami Malek, who I do fucking love, won for Bohemian Rhapsody. So it's like, but it did seem like,
and I still don't. It still was so hard for me to judge that performance because that movie was so batshit insane and bad. The scene where he just starts singing when they're actually having a conversation still baffles me to this day of why they made that directorial decision.
And I think Bohemian Rhapsody is a better film than Elvis. That's where we are. That's where we were. And Elvis and Banshees, which had I think the 2 most nominations of the night, completely shut out. So,
well, you know what they say, fuck Elvis. All right, up next, I don't know.
Yeah, just before we move on, again, I just want to plug it against. You can see more of my thoughts if you're curious on all these nominations. Like I said, what I think should and shouldn't have won, and sort of, where we go from here as far as the Oscars. Go check out that piece. It'll be in the link below, wherever you listen to this podcast. So go check that out. All right, let's like you said, Corey, let's move on to something that is far
the polar opposite of Prestige that ever could be thought of. We are referring to CW's new, probably last DC show, Gotham Knights.
We said at the time when we started watching it, when we realized that it was on the docket and all that stuff, why is this even happening?
I'm assuming it was greenlit before DC wanted to go into a different direction, and I guess they just already dropped the budget to make some of a season.
I've been led to believe that Batgirl or Batwoman was exported and on a drive and ready to go. Like they were going to ship it to the movie theaters, and then they canceled it. They couldn't have canceled this one before it hit my fucking computer screen?
Apparently not. Apparently fucking not. They apparently looked at it, was just like, this is shit, but no one's going to watch it, and we can make a little bit of money off of it, maybe?
I do think there is, if this was on any other network besides the CW, this show never sees the light of day, obviously, but the CW is by far and away of the 5 network television channels, the lowest watch. It doesn't even, I think if you multiplied it by 5, it wouldn't compete with the next one in line. So, and part of that is because they trend to a much younger audience, and those ratings are mostly online stuff. But
yeah,
you said, Corey, no one's gonna watch this fucking television show.
Absolutely not. But we did. We did, because the morbid curiosity kind of did catch us, and we were like, why not try to cash in on these sweet, sweet content clicks? And we checked out Gotham Knights. To give a little bit of background on what the show actually is. So you guys know Batman.
Before you started, you're about to do the plot. Before you started talking, I forgot what the plot of the show was, and it's insane. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead. It's insane.
So it's okay. It's okay. Turner Hayes, is that his name?
Who cares? We'll call him Turner Hayes. Doesn't matter.
Turner Hayes, aka we could not get the rights to any other Robin, apparently, for some reason, is the adopted son of Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. We do not see Bruce Wayne, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, that's a lie.
We see his corpse.
We see, yes. So Bruce Wayne has been murdered in his office building and thrown out of a window.
And they put his fucking Party City mask on him before they threw him out.
So now everyone, for some reason, is like, "Oh shit, he's Batman now." Wait, hold on, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, to be honest, if you saw that guy in that mask with that suit being thrown out of that window, you wouldn't think, "Well, that guy is Batman." You'd think, "Well, that guy thought he was Batman because he took a bunch of LSD and then jumped off of the roof and died."
Yeah, it's like that's also an excellent point about it too. It's like what, like why are they just like, "Oh, he's Batman now"? Like there was like actually no proof. Okay, but
well, to be honest, as we talked about before, it like Bruce Wayne is the only person who could be Batman. So the fact that nobody's pieced it together already is insane. But yeah, like,
but yeah, so Batman gets killed, and these three juvenile delinquents who are also thieves, and it's kind of confused.
Two siblings.
Two siblings and the Joker's daughter.
The Joker's daughter.
Are set up for the murder after
also,
trying to go rob.
Don't worry,
Wayne.
It's not important that she's the Joker's daughter.
It's not important whatsoever. And they get sent. They're sent to jail because they're getting set up for the crime. Yeah. After that, during that, Turner is going back to school, and then the police are like, "Oh, you're the one who killed your father because he wrote you into the will."
Well, also they find like a wire transfer
from his personal checking account.
Yeah, to the three people that also got, to the three thieves that also got set up for the crime. He apparently paid them for this job. He didn't, but
yeah, obviously. And damn, this kind of goes really quickly if you kind of say it out loud. They all get sent to jail, and then they're getting transferred to prison, and they're broken out during their prison transport.
This is the best part of the episode, by the way.
By Robin, but not the other Robins.
Not the Robin that any of you are familiar with. Don't worry.
And also not the Robin. Well, Stephanie Brown, aka Spoilers, also in the show as Turner's friend / love interest. I think he's gay. I'm not sure, or bi. I don't know. But she's also in the show. And she actually also has played Robin beforehand in the comics for all of 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. But Carrie Kelly, Robin, breaks them out from their prison transport. For you guys who don't know who Carrie Kelly is, she is legitimately only from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, a comic that came out in the 80s.
Which is why she's in this show, because this show does not have the ability to use any real Batman.
No,
rights.
So they were like, we'll let you use a Robin, just the two Robins that no one really cares too much about.
I'm honestly surprised they were even allowed to say the word the Joker. Like I don't. That shocked me.
That was pretty wild too, yeah. But yeah, they're rescued by them, and they're like, okay, so we're gonna come together and trying to solve the death of Bruce Wayne. But here's the trick about it, though: they already kind of know who did it, so I really don't even know what the mystery is. It's the Court of Owls, and the Joker's daughter gives this whole weird monologue about it. But so the mystery's gone. There's not a mystery.
Well, I guess the mystery to CW show viewers is who is the Court of Owls.
Okay, it's the bully in the high school.
Yeah, I mean, but also just Google it and you're good.
Yeah, like you can Google it and then be like, oh, it's that guy. Like the fuck? Like it's not like, it's like when Arrow was like, who's the bad guy? Who's the secret Merlin Archer? Oh, it's the guy with the literal last name Merlin.
Yeah, it is rough because anytime you have a show that has 7 characters and 6 of them are definitely the good guys, it sort of gives away who might be the bad guy.
But also the real kicker for this to us was his whatever the fuck his name is, not Robin, Batman. Also, he keeps calling him Dad, and I'm like, he's like he just got adopted from him, and like, I don't know. I don't even know if I called my dad that much, like Dad, that often in like any like kind of setting. I think
the show really is trying to lean into the like. It's a show that's trying to have like 4 cakes and eat them too, and like it wants to do the father-son relationship with Robin, but also the like Bruce Wayne was a misunderstood good parent thing. And so because of that, they sort of do none of it. Like, he's not Robin. And
Not Robin.
he has this great relationship with his dad, but apparently his dad lied to him constantly and picked another person as Robin.
Yeah, so they're supposed to believe that he has no idea that he's Batman,
Yeah,
but he has a really strong relationship with Bruce, which makes no sense because he would be going to school in the daytime and Batman would be out all night. So they would have no time to interact.
You know how many fucking books I've read where Batman says the exact line, well, I can't have a relationship with you because I only can be Batman. So he has this whole ass relationship with this child who doesn't know he's Batman.
And I think in the original comics, Dick Grayson didn't know for all of 2 weeks. And then he's like, where's he at all the time?
Right.
And he's supposed to have this girl with his dad. He's just getting fucking hammered. And it's like, I didn't actually know you could just show teenagers drinking like this on television. I don't know why that was so shocking to me.
Well, it's because
just
they're all
to see
24.
that happen. Yeah, absolutely. They're all older than us. But
I don't think they're older than us yet.
That dude with the horrible slick back hair, that guy was fucking 40. I don't give a shit. The bully guy was like, the guy who was bullying him because his dead dad was Batman. How do you get bullied when your dead father is Batman?
It is like, and maybe it is because everyone who's ever written a show, like a young adult show, was mercilessly bullied in their high school or something. But this is not, even mean kids don't talk to each other the way that mean kids do in high school TV shows. Nobody has ever, in the history of time, bullied a kid because their parent died. The day after their parent died. Nobody's done that.
And the day after the parent died, and also he's getting bullied because his dad was Batman. Fucking Batman.
A guy everybody loved, by the way.
Yeah, everyone's seen the fucking people line up in the streets to say goodbye to Batman. He was
his
beloved
dad was
in this
two
universe.
People that everyone loved, like billionaire philanthropist Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yeah, he seemed like all around a solid guy, and also I would be a lot more. So Che and I actually talked about this before the episode where we might go watch the second episode out of morbid curiosity.
I don't know why, but it's sort of like living in my brain rent free.
I know, I can't stop thinking about it.
I just want to know how they could possibly continue this story.
Because I'm like, they have to. I really hope they kind of dive into the whole Carrie Kelly and the main character. I don't like saying his name.
I don't want to see
But I just wanted one acknowledgement to be like, yo, so he picked this random girl,
child.
Everybody
Everybody else
younger
in the
than
show
him.
is a 20-something-year-old, and Navia Robinson, who plays Carrie Kelly, looks 12. It's nuts.
And I think she just figured out that he was he was Batman. But also I'm like, is this main character so fucking stupid that he lived underneath the same roof as Batman and couldn't figure it out, but some random girl could figure that shit out?
Yeah, it's not great. That's
wild. That's wild. Not great and wild at the same time.
I do really wonder. Like we said at the top, I just want to know who the CW thinks is watching this show, because it can't possibly be for comic book nerds like us. There's no fucking way that's who it's for.
Yeah, because honestly, we're hate watching it, if anything, but the premise itself would just it just doesn't seem like it would appeal to people who like comics.
And it can't be for the Riverdale crowd either, because it's not.
I think it might be for the Riverdale crowd. It just hasn't gotten to. It's not that horny though. It's not that horny. I've seen Riverdale.
Getting horny.
They were insinuating that was a weird hand touch between Joker's daughter.
The close up on Turner Hayes.
Turner Hayes. God damn! Why is his name so long?
I don't know.
Turner Hayes.
It's not great. And again, the close up of him touching hands with the Joker's daughter, Duella Dent, is weird.
Which is also, why is her last name Dent? Never mind.
Well, I guess we're gonna find out that she's Harvey Dent's niece.
Maybe.
Does Harvey Dent canonically have a sister?
I think in the comics, the original pre-crisis 1985 shit, I think she was Harvey Dent's daughter that was just, I don't know.
Well, she can't be Harvey Dent's daughter, because she can't be Harvey Dent's daughter and the Joker's daughter. So she has to be. Joker had to have a baby with some woman.
Well, it seems like in this one that she's biologically the Joker's, but also Harley Quinn exists, and I'm like, why didn't you just make her Harley Quinn's daughter? That would have been so much. I think if they just did that, that would have been so much better.
So canonically, apparently, I've just Googled the words Harvey Dent's sister. I don't know this character. Maybe you do. Twin sister of Harvey Dent, Jessica, exists. So
okay, no, I'm not.
So maybe Jessica Dent is going to show up somewhere during the show.
And she was a psychiatrist who happened to have sex with the Joker, but not Harley Quinn. Why couldn't it just be Harley Quinn?
No, isn't her mother not the psychiatrist? Her mother is her. So the Joker had a baby with her mother, and then left her mother for Harley Quinn. That's the whole monologue she gives about why she hates the Joker so much, is because he abandoned her for his psychiatrist, who is Harley Quinn. But this is some woman previous to Harley Quinn.
Why would you want the Joker to be your dad, though?
Well, also, her act of rebellion is to be become the Joker, apparently.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. But also, does everybody who's related or the Joker in TV shows and movies have to carry around the Joker card on them to be like, oh, what's this? And like, we all know who the fuck the Joker is. Like, we all know. We don't need. I mean, even the Christopher Nolan films. I mean, like, what is this whole like? Why do you?
I don't really get. I mean, we said this a million times before. What the obsession is with the Joker. The Joker is inarguably Batman's best villain. Yes. Absolutely. But he has so many other great villains. Just use one of those.
They would.
Every single movie. And even like that was my complaint about, despite the fact that not Oscar winner Barry Keogh was like lights out incredible in the 12 seconds we sort of see of him. I still was just like, why even do it? Why
even do him? And then why waste Barry on like the Joker again? Why do we have to have another, like, why can't we just use him, do somebody else?
I'm still hoping they could just be like, well, that wasn't the Joker. Because they never say the Joker. They never say the Joker.
I think it's the Joker, yeah.
I know, but they could just say it's not the Joker. And we could keep Barry, who was fucking incredible, and move on with our lives.
I don't think we
no one's going to blame them. No one's going to blame them.
Keep Paul Dano, introduce a new villain. It's just like, I would love it if Paul Dano was kind of just the whole Hannibal Lecter to Batman's Batman for that series, but we're getting off the point now. Gotham Knights is bad.
Hopefully this is the end. Hopefully this is the end of the CW DC shows and we're good for like ever and that's it.
We need to be done.
Yeah. I thought we'd put like a capper on it after the, what was the last one? Something of Tomorrow?
Legends of Tomorrow. Don't besmirch Legends of Tomorrow in this podcast, because that show knew what it was. It knew it was bad.
Yeah, that's fine. But it is bad.
Yeah, no, that one was silly, but it was stupid bad.
I'm not entirely sure Gotham Knights doesn't know it's bad.
I mean, it doesn't. I think it actually thinks it's doing a good job. At least Legends of Tomorrow had Barack Obama be chased by Gorilla Grodd.
What?
You don't write that down.
Hold on.
And no.
Hold
on.
Hold on. What are you talking about?
We should go to break.
All right, we'll be back and we're going to talk about comic books, I guess, because Corey doesn't want to explain what the fuck he just said.
What else did you need me to say? A time-traveling talking gorilla went to go murder Barack Obama.
We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
And literally said the lines, "Make America Grodd Again." We'll be right back.
No!
I don't understand. What about you?
I'm staying here with him till the plane gets safely away.
No, Richard, no. What has happened to you? Last night
we said a great many things. You said I was to do the thinking for both of us. Well, I've done a lot of it since then. It all adds up to one thing. You're getting on that plane with Victor where you belong.
But, Richard, no,
Now, you've got to listen to me. You have any idea what you'd have to look forward to if you stayed here? 9 chances out of 10, we'd both wind up at a concentration camp. Isn't that true, Louis?
I'm afraid Major Strasser would insist.
You're saying this only to make me go.
I'm saying it because it's true. Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. You're part of his work, the thing that keeps him going. If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have. We lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said I would never leave you.
And you never will. But I've got a job to do, too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Ilsa, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of 3 little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. Here's looking at you, kid.
And We're back.
What's up?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you, as usual, you know us. We went a little long. We cut a little bit of stuff. We're not going to talk about The Last of Us to close out the episode, but we are just going to talk about some comics. I think at this point, The Last of Us has been thoroughly discussed. Corey and I are in agreement. Yep. Good TV show. We'll be watching
good TV show.
2. Everyone loves Pedro Pascal.
Love Pedro Pascal. Really like Bella Ramsey. I thought it was a really good show all the way through. Good guest stars. Che and I haven't played the game, but we're assuming it was pretty faithful.
We were just saying that last scene seems like straight from a video game. Like the last shooting boss of the
shooting scene. I mean, the entire, like, even like the last scene itself, I think I've been told that's how the game ends, pretty much verbatim, and I'm like, that's an excellent way to end a video game. And a TV show. Excited for the next season. But yeah, Che, let's we got two comics on our docket. And let's dive in. Che, which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about No One first, and we'll close out with the soon-to-be Netflix hit, BRZRKR.
Should be.
But first up, Kyle Higgins, Brian Buccellato, and Geraldo Borges. This is in the Radiant Black universe. I apparently.
I'm assuming. Apparently, they're calling it the Massive Verse.
The Massive Verse.
The Massive Verse.
I don't like that.
I don't love it either because.
But I do like this book, and
I do like this book.
As somebody who has not read any of the other Massive Verse books, it did make me want to sort of dive into the universe. Although it does feel like, at least for the time being, this is pretty self-contained. If you haven't read Radiant Black or Radiant Red, or I can't remember what the crossover, Pink. Radiant Pink, any of the other Radiant books from Image, I don't think it matters. Maybe some of these character names will be familiar to you if you have read them. I didn't recognize them.
Personally, as I have read Radiant Black, the first 2 volumes, and I think I might have mentioned it beforehand. I think it might have been a thing I loved at one point.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun comic. I can't say it's the best prestige comic, but clearly it's written by someone who has a lot of love and a lot of nostalgia for Power Rangers. I mean, as I do as well. But it's a really fun comic book. I really recommend those first 2 volumes, looking for a very fun book. This is a very different book, and I don't think you would be lost whatsoever if you jumped into No One. To the point where I knew it was written by Kyle Higgins, and I think there was one little thing that was like, oh, I'm like, that sounds familiar. I'm like, and I read the Image page. And it was like in another installment into the Massive Verse.
Honestly, there isn't actually any way for you to even know if you don't check out the Image page or anything that this is in the Massive Verse or even relates to any of the Radiant books until the like post, what do you want to call it, the epilogue information where you see on a and I actually really like the epilogue information because I do think some of the names were a bit confusing to me on first read through. But there's like a fake news website that if you are watching the YouTube video, which you should be, is up on your screen now. But at the bottom of the fake news website that chronicles the timeline that really like the prequel of, or the preamble of what we see in this book, at the bottom of that is a image of one of the Radiant superheroes. So.
Wow. Look, let me just read out the amount of books in the Massive Verse. It's really hard to say, man.
Yeah.
We got Radiant Black, Rogue Sun, Radiant Red, The Dead Lucky, Radiant Pink, Inferno Girl, No One, and Cal. That's a lot of books. I'm excited.
And I've read one of them.
Yes. And I mean, I don't know. I'm actually going to go through these now because I really did like Radiant Black. And I mean, he introduced Radiant Pink and Radiant Red in those other books. And those were fun books. I'm becoming a Kyle Higgins fan. I'm really digging what this guy's putting out. And also, I was looking at the page as well. We also talked about Ordinary Gods a while back as well. I think we both liked that book. There's a companion podcast. And I think we do have a rule about not suggesting other podcasts, but I'm kind of curious to see.
To be fair, if you're in the market for a companion podcast to a specific comic book, I'm not sure it's going to detract from your listening of our podcast. So go ahead and go listen to the companion podcast.
I'm interested for that.
Are you?
I'm interested.
I like Ordinary Gods. A whole podcast on it seems kind of wild.
I like audio dramas to the point
fair.
I listened to the fucking Halo podcast audio drama companioning for one of the ones.
That makes one.
It was narrated by Keegan-Michael Key, and it fucking slaps. And I don't care. That shit fucking rocked.
I mean, I'm gonna let you cook, but
You don't have to.
I simply do not believe that. But okay,
You-
I don't believe that cooks. But okay,
it did. It was really good.
fair enough. So, but no one. Basically, the premise of this book is you're sort of dropped into the middle of the crime wave, I guess, or like a series of assassinations and attempted assassinations by a hacker organization called No One, No/1, and we have heard they have successfully assassinated 3 people and have been foiled in the assassination of 3 others. Not them. This is where I also got confused while reading it. It wasn't No One that did it. No One doxed these people, and then they were assassinated by. And do you remember this guy's name? Because I certainly do not.
Don't put me on the spot.
They were assassinated by a guy who clearly, if you are a reader of the book, has been wrongfully imprisoned for their murders. Richard Rowe is and his father is not quite the police chief, but very high-ranking police officer, and his brother appears to be a drug addict. So, classic police family, I guess. I don't know. Every police family in every book I've ever read is just not doing great.
Yeah, very Jim Gordon, where like I'm a good cop and one of my daughter's Batgirl and my son's a serial killer. So it's just like kind of that entire. So again, not necessarily reinventing
and my daughter's
the wheel.
been like hospitalized by the Joker.
Yeah.
So
not necessarily reinventing the wheel, but it's like I think it still does a really good thing with it.
No, the book is very clearly playing on lots of tropes, but I think in a way that really works. And I think the mystery is effective. Like I want to know who No One is. We get a scene near the end of the book where No One comes to say, it's gonna be so weird to call this character No One. It's gonna be very irritating. But comes to save.
You want to do No/1? Would that help?
No, it's even worse somehow. He comes to save the police chief, who, up until that point, if you reading the rest of the book, you think they probably, not knowing who No One is, probably do not like this police chief guy because they've doxed a lot of the family members and stopped his son, thwarted his son from assassinating people that he has revealed information of. So now I'm like, oh, okay, so it's the son. It's the other son that somebody thinks is a drug addict, and then he gets fucking capped on the next page.
I really do think I'm like, wow, it's the other son. This is a pretty solid twist, and now I'm like, oh nope.
I was sure. I was 100% sure when we see him jump.
And
down.
I was like, it's one of those things. I'm like, I was perfectly fine with that twist. I'm like, oh, that's a good twist. Let's see how this keeps on going. Then I'm like, oh my god.
I was mostly fine with it because I didn't think this is the main twist of the book. I was like, okay, so this is going to be like the story going forward. And it does seem like a big part of what this book is going to be who is No One, which for the time being, I'm intrigued by.
Intrigued by, because we don't really know who. This is confusing. You know, it's hard to say. It's like No One, just all one word.
I know it's like a really cool looking. It's a cool looking title. It's very
you can read it fine.
Yeah.
But when you start saying it out loud,
it is very irritating.
Maybe I don't want to listen to the companion podcast.
Don't listen to the companion podcast for a number of reasons. That shouldn't be one of them.
Dude, what are you talking about? You're crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. So going forward, what do you think we're going to see in this book, or you have any predictions for these? We also get a little podcast storyline that everything now has to have a podcast around where somebody's
because that's the podcast, Che. That's what the podcast is in the podcast, Che. They had to do it.
The companion podcast is this woman's podcast?
Yes.
Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. I thought, Corey, this is what I was just like,
I'm sorry.
Like, you know how every HBO show now has like it tell you at the beginning, go check out our podcast, and then it's just 2 people talking about the episode you just watched?
Yes.
I thought this was every week there was going to be somebody talking about the new issue of No One. And I was like, that sounds fucking awful.
That would be wild. No, it's an actual companion podcast audio drama following that character. Audio drama
of Julia, the character. Okay.
Yes, with Rachel Lee Cook as the
No
main
shot.
character.
Oh, you know what? I did see. I guess I wiped this from my brain. Yeah.
As I don't know who Patton Oswalt is playing, but he's also in it as well. So it's
he must be playing the other guy.
yeah, it must be
her like semi-boss coworker who convinces her that it's a good idea, and then she asks him, if I'm going to do it, you should do it with me. So it must be them two together. I do really like Rachel Lee Cook, and I actually, now that you're saying this, it has brought a memory back to my brain where I did see news of this somewhere, either I guess maybe tweeted by Patton Oswalt or something, and I was like, oh yeah, Rachel Lee Cook from fucking She's All That, and he's all that.
What a like, I mean, not saying weird get, but like surprising get for both of these things.
This is how we got to an hour before even talking about like half of the things we want to talk about. Do you have anything else to say about Noah before we move on?
No,
to
but I think we're gonna make a podcast about their podcast and talk about it. So I think that's gonna be our next steps. I think.
If we start making companion podcasts to the companion podcast of a, let's be honest, pretty niche image comic, I think that's where we have to end the podcast.
The
right?
companion podcast. I think that's what we're
the unofficial companion podcast. By the way, not sanctioned at all.
The Watchmen.
Unless, let's be very clear. Let's be very clear. If Rachel Lee Cook wants to come on the fucking pod, she is more than welcome.
Please,
we'll talk about Patton Oswalt, I guess, but mostly Rachel Lee Cook.
Let's talk about She's All That. Go.
I honestly don't remember anything about the movie. I have seen it.
What was your role like in Josie and the Pussycats? Okay, let's talk about our other comic book. Keanu Reeves and
What's
Matt
Freddie
Kindt.
Prinze Jr. doing, you think?
Freddie Prinze?
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, I don't know. I was weirdly watching the Scream movie yesterday. I was thinking the same exact thing.
Well, you and everybody else in the
I've never seen Scream before, so I'm actually making my way.
Yeah.
I watched Scream 2 because Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it and she gets tossed out of a fucking window.
She gets fucked up in that movie. Somebody on my timeline tweeted today that they had they were in the theater, took a picture of the screen, seeing Scream 6 for the 5th time.
Oh my god, why?
What's wrong with you?
The movie's like fun, but I couldn't imagine going to rewatch those like...
I haven't seen fucking Citizen Kane 5 times. Calm down, people.
Speaking of Citizen Kane, the Citizen Game of Comics, Matt Kindt and Keanu Reeves.
Up until like the 9th issue, and then it becomes something different.
Yeah, BRZRKR.
I did not like the end of this book, Corey. I'm sorry.
BRZRKR, BRZRKR. There's no vowels. Just
I'm staring at people on the YouTube video see me trying to count the letters in the title. I'm pretty sure I got it right. BRZRKR.
I'm reading from the rundown, Che, so you fucked that up. You fucked me up. A comic about an immortal soldier who is trying to die.
Such a good idea. And such a great execution up until
it gets weird.
Up until they do like a thing, which is weird because this book. So for those of you who haven't heard us talk about this before, we talked about. I think we checked on we talked about the first issue. We checked in about like issue 7 or 8 or something. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. We were like at that point. I'm like, it's ramping. I'm like, yo, this is like it's like good. I'm like, oh, this is kind of an interesting backstory. I kind of like the like what we're learning about the character.
Was shockingly well done.
And like I think we were even talking like god damn. I'm like, we know Matt Kindt's a good writer. But, like, this definitely still has Keanu's fingerprints all over it. Yeah. I think he's doing a pretty solid job about it. And then it gets fucking weird.
Yeah. So the backstory of this book, the reason it is co-written, and let's be very clear, it's co in hard air quotes, by Keanu Reeves and Matt Kindt is because before even the first issue dropped, this is greenlit for a adaptation on Netflix. I still can't remember if it's a movie or a television show. I don't even remember at this point. It doesn't super matter. But it's been greenlit. I think, actually... It's got to be a movie because the whole problem with this book is it does a thing I've never really seen in a comic before, but I've seen in a million IP fodder films. And that is, it spends the last 20 minutes, or in this case, the last like 2.5 issues, setting up sequels that nobody asked for. We didn't we don't care about the kids. We do not care about these kids. And this book should have ended. Spoilers to BRZRKR fans. Apologies. We're spoiling this book. This book should end with him dying. It is a completely unforced error to have him come back to life. For
unforced error to make him come. And then even the whole thing with like her being pregnant with the kids, it was like it happens in the span of like 3 pages, and I'm
they have no fucking relationship before that.
Yeah,
she's impregnated by him.
Yeah, like was there even a scene of them having sex?
No, there's a scene where she goes over to his house and says that they need to make a more intimate connection. And that was one of my least favorite scenes in the early part of the good part of the book, where I was like, I actually don't care about this relationship. I think it's even better that he's sort of been like, I think the narrative of him being burnt out on love because he has spent millennia, literally multiple thousands of years, falling in love with women and men and everything in between, and watching them die while he can't. And it is like one of the more tragic parts of this book is that scene where we see him talking about why he doesn't love anymore, and you get all these montages like throughout time, beautifully. The art is incredible in this book, beautifully rendered all over the place, and it's just him in ancient Egypt falling in love with somebody who's like probably Cleopatra, and then she grows old and dies, and then in like Vietnam, and he falls in love with a monk and they grow old and die. And this guy has gotten to the point where we meet him in the year 2023 or 2021, whenever this book started, and he just like is sick of watching people he loves dies, and he's not doing it anymore. I think that is a more interesting. And then he falls in love with a scientist that he exchanges 4.5 words with.
Yeah, it's like they really needed to like make that feel like it's absolutely earned, especially because at the end we're like supposed to believe that they still have this kind of connection, which is built upon whatever magic bullshit thing we're doing here. I think it's like aliens or something. I can't remember, honestly. It was.
And this is a problem with stories like this in general, where like, to us, obviously, even if this was a really well written connection, it would feel like the whole world, because our experience of BRZRKR is these 12 issues, and their story is contained in these 12 issues. But the whole point of this character is that actually, no matter how like blazing hot their connection is, no matter how in love with each other they really are, even if, like I said, we don't see that at all on the page, this is a blip in a blip in a blip in his life.
Yeah,
he exists throughout time, and that is like, I think what is so interesting about this character up until this point is that he is like, not only has he loved more people than he's ever gonna remember, he's killed more people than he's ever gonna remember. He's met. He knows more languages. His like the most interesting part of this book is like when they talk about, at least to me, when they talk about how he is in a lot of ways this sort of like through line of humanity. Is that when a language or a piece of technology is forgotten, he is the only thing that's saving it, because he's the only thing that's been there forever. And then they impregnate some woman and have her have 2 babies, and then
then those 2 babies are going out to hook up and spread their seeds.
That scene was rough, dog.
And also the whole thing that makes it even rougher is the fact that they're supposed to be adults, but they were like
12 days old.
Yeah.
12 days old in the bar fucking is not what I want to be.
Not okay.
Really good. If this book ends at like, I'm throwing out a random issue, I think it's like issue 8 basically. If the closing of issue 8 before the like burying him in the Mojave Desert and like transmuting him throughout dimensions, all that shit happens,
and then he wakes up as Neo again. So I'm like, okay, I get the whole, oh, and their eyes are red and blue like the red and blue. Okay, come on, like, listen, Keanu, Matt, chill.
And this is, and it's just, like I said, it's just weird to see this, because I've seen this in a million Netflix action movies where you're like, oh, this is like guard. But even the old guard, I think, is like, it doesn't fall so much a victim to it because it's based on, I think, pretty well written source material. The problem is like this is like falls victim to all like the Netflix original movie stuff that I haven't seen a comic book before, because it is certainly, and this I want to make this very clear. I think the reason this book is really great is because Matt Kindt is a great writer, and I think the part of this book that's really bad is because Netflix production came to him and was like, well, actually, if this is successful, we need to make 10 of them. So
yeah. And I think what Matt Kindt does, especially, I'm reading through Mind MGMT right now, and that's like such a good and abstract book.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing like some of the definitely abstract ideas we have with it. It's really weird. Like even the weird parts of this book, which I didn't love because I really was digging what the book was, and the first part, and I was like, and the lore to me,
I think this book is better when it's concrete though, when it's tactile.
And I think they shouldn't. I think it would have been better if they both were like trying to live in peace. She's immortal, and then he dies, and the cycle continues in that way. Where now we have another person who's immortal and living through time, and he's the one And I think that kind of leads itself more into that. But then I guess in the end of this book, they're like, okay, if we do end up making this movie, we now have a reason or a way for Keanu to come back. And listen, I'm all about Keanu being on some alien planet murdering aliens and shit. That's cool.
I'm all about that, to be honest.
I'm not. Listen, I'm just trying to be supportive. I'm just happy he's doing. I'm just happy he's happy.
I'm happy for Keanu Reeves too. I just don't know if I need to see him. And again, if this was a comic book, they wouldn't feel the need to bring him back. But because it's Keanu Reeves, like you said, they need to find a way to have him come back to the story. And
what is the ending though with that? I just don't understand the whole like. They're evil, right? Like, I'm confused about what the fuck's happening with those kids. It's just like, I don't...
Well, again, it is... I think it's a lot... Like, I keep making the exact same point, but it's just like a thing we've seen in IP fare like this before is like, they don't really have an idea of who these kids are. They don't really have an idea of where their story is going to go. What they have is like, somebody in a boardroom said, you know what would be a cool idea if... at the end of this book, we have 4 immortal superheroes, like we have the Incredibles, but they're super violent going forward. Like that's what somebody thought, which is like on paper a good idea, but you negate what was so great about this book. And I think the reason I was so disappointed by it is because of how excellent it is up until the point at which it takes a turn for the worse.
Agreed.
But
yeah,
I'm still gonna watch this fucking movie when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So
I'm still like because I mean I think the first issue of this series is just fucking just action, little dialogue, and it's just fucking badass. And I'm like, I want to see this animated very badly. But I'm with you where I just didn't really love the way.
I think this is live action.
Sorry, that's what I meant though. I meant like perceived on screen.
Oh.
But I think I'm right there with you. Like, I think you actually hit everything that I was feeling at the end of this, where I was like, that was weird. I'm happy that I read it, but I was like, that was a bit weird at the very end, I guess. But
yeah. I guess there is a version of this book that actually does do all the things. It satisfies all its masters. It's like, it gets to tell this interesting story that Matt Kindt is clearly fascinated with about this character who is like devoid of time, and he's immortal in a way that I haven't really seen on page before. It's like we get that sort of in the Wolverine movie, where we see Wolverine fight in like the Civil War. And
you mean the best part about that movie?
Yeah, the only good part about that movie, really. Yeah.
The only good part about it is the montage. I was talking with someone about, like, coincidentally about the Watchmen movie, where they're like, I like the part in the beginning where they did the montage, and I'm like, that's the only original thing that he did for that movie. It's the same exact energy as that.
Yeah, and I do think that there is a version where you could have this book play out all of these ideas and still end in a way that like sets up for subsequent sequels, and that is why I find the choice at the ending sort of weird, especially like his relationship with that other soldier is like sort of weird.
Where like they're like friends, but at the end, like at the end he still like tries to kill him. It's a really weird like.
Yeah.
They didn't they didn't even like leave it as being like, I'll let you like, and I mean, I'm like, I know it's such a cliche, but I really would have liked the whole like, I'll give you a head start kind of vibe. But he just tries to fucking straight up kill him, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of just like, you know, feels a little weird, I guess.
Yeah, it reads as odd on the page, and it's another thing in the ending that feels more like an abstract idea than a point of real execution story wise. Is that like it's like a thing you've seen in millions of movies before, is like these two, you know what it is, Corey? It's fucking from John Wick. It's John Wick's relationship to Common.
Oh, I was thinking, oh, you're right, 100%. I thought you were talking about Winston. I was thinking about the whole give you a head start thing. I'm like, why did I know that? I'm like,
well, yeah, but also to Winston, like this begrudging respect you have with it's like a code of conduct among killers. It's like, you know, the rule of thieves or whatever, and it just doesn't play that well because we don't know this character in this way.
No, he's just kind of there. He doesn't have much of a personality, so it kind of does feel a little bit lackluster, I think, in the end.
Yeah,
I'm
still excited for this. I'm still excited for this movie because
I still want to recommend this book. Yeah. I still recommend this book. I'm excited to give it another reread because I really only reread the last portion of this book, but I'm excited to give another reread. I did like.
Did you even understand any of the stuff they were doing in the last part?
No. Nope.
I just got so lost.
I was also very confused, but it's like I'm having fun, I think.
There's that scene where he's being like literally like driven by lightning through time, and then he ends up getting like impaled by a bird. And I was like, this, maybe I'm a moron, but this feels like it's from a different book.
No, I don't think you're a moron. I think it's just yeah, no, I got nothing for you on that one, buddy.
It's too bad. It's too bad because we did really love this book, and like I said, we think we still both like it, and we're being harsh on it because it could have been so great, and it ended up being like, oh, okay. I think
we're not
in the grand scheme
mad at you. We're just a little disappointed. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's all I got to think about with BRZRKR.
Yeah, I wonder, before we close out, I'm just going to do a quick Google to see if we have a date on this yet. There's currently no release date, but it's supposed to be like mid-2024, which is interesting because, like I said, this thing was greenlit when the book started. You think
they would have started
this
production.
sort of like, yeah, but I wonder if part of that is Keanu's schedule, because I do think, obviously, we've got John Wick coming out soon, and did they shoot 2?
I feel like they might have shot 2 back to back, but I know there's definitely gonna be 5 at least.
And there's the Continental
That's
TV
tomorrow.
show, which is coming.
But I don't think he's in. I don't really think he's super involved in that.
Yeah, he is. So we didn't really mention, obviously, Lance Reddick tragically passed.
Oh yeah.
Earlier this week. I wonder how that's going to affect, because I think he was like the main character in.
Which I was excited about it because you're right. But yeah, that's a very sad.
Unfortunate to leave it on a sad note like that, but I didn't want to mention the great man since we were talking about John Wick. Anything else to say about BRZRKR before we close this one out?
No, I think this is no, check out BRZRKR. Definitely check out No One. We like The Last of Us. But yeah, thanks. I had nothing else to say for everybody.
Yeah, just a quick reminder. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on the YouTube channel. If you're not on the YouTube channel, check out the link in the description below. Also, next episode, Nice House on the Lake by James Tynion IV. And shortly thereafter, we've got Domino by Tony Scott. Last but not least, don't forget to not like and subscribe. We already did that part. Rate, review, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about us. Tell your enemies, everybody. Anything else for the people, Corey?
Nothing else for the people.
All right, well, I've been Che.
I've been Corey.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.